Distance Learning with Miss Sorensen.
Hello, kindergartners. Welcome back. Today, in this video, we are going to be making something called a Parfleche. This is a Native American tool and art piece. Some examples look like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. These are just a few examples. If you would like, you can go back and pause the video while I am showing those pictures, and that will make it easier for you to take a second and look at how beautiful each piece is. They are all unique and different, and that's what makes them so special. People put in so much hard work to make their beautiful pieces. We're going to learn a little bit more about them today. I have some information to tell you before we start making them. I want you to know and understand what these tools are used for before we start our own artwork project. Okay, so the word again is Parfleche. Right here is the word Parfleche. That is the tool we are making today. Parfleche is the skin or the hide of an animal, especially buffaloes. Their hair is removed from the hide and it is dried by being stretched over a frame in a manner that is traditional of North American Indian people. Another picture example looks like this. I know, right? So cool. A Parfleche is a Native American container made out of rawhide, which we were just talking about, is that the hide or the skin of an animal. It's a container that people use to deliver messages. It is created by painting or by stitching or both. This is another example here. You can see that the rawhide, that the skin of the animal, has been turned into a container type thing. There is a opening. If you can see kind of on the front area, there's an opening. It opens like this, and then you can put things inside. So it's like a container or carrying case. Oh, you can create it by painting or by incising or cutting or both. You can see on this example that I was showing you, there's some stitches. I'm seeing some shapes. Ooh, this is making me excited to learn more. Parfleche is a tool, just like we were saying. Parfleches have historically been used to contain items such as household tools or food or dried meat. They were commonly made in pairs and hung from saddles. A pair, we know how many is in a pair? Right, two. So commonly they were made in twos, and then they could be put on either side of a horse, like a saddlebag. This is making sense now. Some believe that they may carry social, spiritual, and symbolic meaning. They're also used in dancing and parades too. They have many different uses and reasons to be worn. Interesting. A very important thing about Parfleche, and something we're going to be focusing on today, is that Parfleche is an art. The bags are usually decorated with a distinctive style. That means that you know when you see it, they have a certain style. That they each are different in their own way. Just like this one, look, wow. Look at the design, look at the shapes, the patterns. And often those symbols and pictures, thinking about our symbols in our passport, those symbols often mean something or symbolize features of the earth, such as rivers and mountains. In this piece here, do you see anything that you think might represent a mountain? What about a river? How about trees? Possibly. I don't know. I did not make it, so I'm not sure, but you could make many ideas by looking at this piece. Historically, women were the main creators of parfleches. First painting stretched out rawhides, then shaping them into their final form. In the 21st century, though, both men and women started making parfleche. It wasn't just the women anymore. It was the men and the women who were working on this art together. Look at this piece. Wow. I'm seeing more geometry. Are you seeing some shapes too? Right. Ooh, very interesting. This picture that I'm about to show you is going to be very similar to this. There are lots of different designs that we can put onto our own parfleche. These are just some examples, but there are more. This picture right here shows many more designs and what they symbolize or their meaning. After we finish getting our paper ready, I will put up that picture again so you can pause the video if you would like and look at those for some ideas. We are going to be making our own parfleche today. As we learned earlier, parfleche are a kind of container. They are often used for delivering mail. Ooh, we could make our own parfleche and then use it to deliver mail to our family members in our own house. Ooh, I'm getting some ideas. I'm thinking since it's November, thinking ahead to Thanksgiving, maybe sending a thank you note to your mom or dad or your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt, or your uncle, your brother, your sister, or your neighbor. Maybe you could write a thank you note and deliver it in your own parfleche. Ooh, I'm so excited. Oh, this is making me ready to start writing. Okay, so what we need to do is take out our brown paper bag. Your brown paper bag might look something like this. If it does not, that's okay. We'll do the same kind of thing, but yours will look a little bit different. If you have like a smaller paper bag, that's okay. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to carefully, very carefully pull the bottom off of our bag. We're just pulling it so it opens up like this one. I've started taking the bottom off of this bag. So it's still a circle. We're just taking the bottom part off so that it is an open circular object. So carefully tearing. You don't want to rip the whole thing apart if you're going too fast. Carefully tearing, being very gentle. Carefully opening up those corners, finding all of the little pieces that are folded over, and gently pulling. And then once you have finished, you should have a bag that is open on both sides. Can you see me now? Hello? Hello? Can you see me now? Hello? Okay, so if you need a second, you can pause the video and make sure to take your time. Be very careful. And then you can restart the video again when you're ready. Okay, so the next step that we are going to do, we are going to find in your bag, it's easier if you look inside, there is an area where it was glued shut. So find that spot in your bag. It was easier when I looked inside. I had more of a challenge when I looked on the outside. It's kind of difficult to see, but when you look inside, it's easier to see where they came together. carefully ripping. Carefully. See, mine already ripped a little bit. If it does that, that's okay. Just be super careful because we're gonna cut off. We're not gonna use the whole entire bag. Just carefully ripping it. Carefully ripping along that line. Again, if it rips a little bit too much more than you thought, that's okay. So now, if you're like me, you might have a bag that's open all the way, but it's stuck because it has a handle. You can take the handle off. Of course, carefully ripping that as well. Okay. Oh, I got another handle. Taking my other handle off. There we go. The next part that I'm gonna do is, again, if you need to pause, feel free to pause. If you need a second, that is okay. The next step that we're gonna do, I right now have a really long piece of paper. I'm gonna cut along the bottom to cut off all the scraggly bottom parts. So take your scissors and start cutting along the bottom where we undid the bottom part. It's kind of, mine's all ripped. So cutting along the line. So now I have a very clean line at the bottom and a pretty clean line at the top. Now what we're gonna do, because this is so long, we don't need that much. So all I want right now is one big rectangle. So I'm gonna keep my QFC label part and then one little skinny rectangle underneath. That's a side of my bag. So I'm gonna cut off this scraggly edge here, right along my edge, my folded line. I want this part and the label on my big side of the bag. So I'm gonna cut this off now. Okay, so now I have that skinny rectangle into the bigger, wider rectangle. But again, I don't need these two smaller rectangles, so I'm gonna cut these off like that. There we go. That is much easier to use and move around. So now I have my QFC side, my bigger rectangle. That's like the front of my bag. And then I also have one side of a bag. So if I pretended like it was a bag, I have the front of my bag and I have one side of my bag. That's all we need. The next step is one of my favorite parts. Gently, we are going to make our bag look weathered and worn. This kind of makes it get that texture, that feeling like skin, like rawhide, like the buffalo skin that we were talking about earlier. Kind of gives it that texture and that feeling of old and used and well loved. To do that, does anybody have any ideas how we might make it look like this? Right, we have to do some crinkling. We need to carefully crinkle up our paper. Carefully. Carefully crinkle it. Move it around. And then check it out. You can open it up. How's it looking? Is it starting to look weathered and worn, well loved and used? Right. Maybe you want to crinkle it some more, or maybe there's a certain corner that you're like, that didn't get crinkled enough. Great. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. Exactly. Okay. In order to make this a carrying container, we need to give this a top and a bottom. To do that, you can decide if you have your logo, you can make that the top or the bottom. I'm gonna make that inside so you can't even see the logo. I am going to fold the top down about halfway. I'm gonna make a crinkle, or I'm gonna make a crease. That's gonna be the top of my container. The top of my container. Oh, but now I gotta make a bottom. I'm gonna open that back up, and then I'm going to fold my paper to where that line is that I folded the top. See, there's my line. I'm gonna take this bottom piece and fold it. Make my crease. There we go. We have the bottom, and then if we fold this over, we have our very own Parfleche carrying case. This can be a mail carrier, a food carrier, a clothing carrier. You can decide. One of my favorite things to do is to make it a mail carrier and then send letters and notes to my family. So if I wanted, I could write a note. I could write a note on my piece of paper and say, I heart you. And then I have my note, I heart you. My carrying case is upside down. I have the bottom. I'm going to put my note into my Parfleche, close it up tightly, and then I can hand it to a family member, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, whoever you are sending your note to. They can give you your Parfleche back so that you can send out more mail. Something I am noticing right now, my Parfleche does not look like this or like this. What are we missing? Right, we're missing all of those symbols. Just like our symbols in our passport, and just like the symbols right here, we need to add those to our Parfleche. So, after you have finished cutting and crinkling, you decide what side's gonna be your front and which side's gonna be your back. If you like, you can add symbols all over it. That is your choice. Using these symbols, or the symbols I showed you earlier on my screen, go ahead and decorate your Parfleche however you want. You could use markers, crayons, pencils, paint, other pieces of paper. You're deciding what you would like your Parfleche to look like. Are there patterns? Are there symbols that show water and earth and trees and dirt and clouds and sky? You could add those. There are so many different ways that you can decorate your Parfleche. That's what makes it special. You get to decorate it however you want, and no one else's Parfleche will look like yours. Okay, friends, I'm gonna leave you to it. Have so much fun decorating. I am excited to see what you make, and have fun messaging your family and friends and whoever you would like to send notes to. I can't wait for you to get to use your own Parfleche. Okay, kindergartners, nice work. Thank you for sitting with me, and I hope you enjoy this art project as much as I do. Okay, bye friends. See you tomorrow for crafternoon.